Hare Rama, Wow. I'm kind of having a sense that people really like kirtan. So make sure you leave kirtan up, okay? Move up, especially in the middle, so people have a sense of pride.
Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Go Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
Ki.
Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya
Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Greetings from New Jersey. Some people ask me, how do you feel coming from Govardhan to New Jersey? But I remember two things. I remember Srila Jayapataka Swami many, many years ago. He gave such a great analogy. He said the difference between Govardhan and a temple, he said there can be no difference. He said just like if you have a place that's very, very high, if you bring the water up, then it's irrigated. And if you have a place like the Netherlands, which is low, it's also can be irrigated with water. So there's no difference. The only difference is one is not dependent on you bringing the water up, where the other one is so natural. But when you chant and absorb yourself in kirtan, then there's no difference. The other one I heard is there's that famous sadhu in Vrindavan, Premananda, 20,000 people lining the streets every morning to see him. And I had a friend, a person who was assisting me, and he would go to his classes. And he was lecturing on Vrindavan Mahamrita. What? Okay.
Mahimamrita.
Mahimamita. The glories of Vrindavan. And this is by Prabodhananda Saraswati, and it's kind of like, I don't want to classify that, but I don't know how to use any other word, like fanatic Vrindavan. I'd rather hear the Prajalpa of the Brijbasis than attain love of Godhead any place else. And then he was lecturing on that every day. But then he said one thing nice that kind of comforted me. He said that, but if you leave Vrindavan to give Vrindavan, then there's no difference. So, came from Govardhan. We have, actually today, I usually have a strategy of what I'm going to speak on, because I remember sometimes, you want to connect with the audience. You want to make the audience like active rather than passive. That's a good way to begin a lecture. So I would start someplace and I would say, what was my job before I came to Krishna consciousness? So that way the people are all thinking. And also they can insult you also. You were a waiter, like that. So the last job I had is I was actually a sports coach. Did you know that? I was a high school soccer coach. That was the last thing. Then I asked people, what are they good at? They're good at strategy. So I always try to have a strategy, but I just couldn't think of one today. So I thought, let me just begin with I had some ideas. I'll tell you two of the ideas I had. One, I just have a few tattva and rasa. I want to speak on both, the philosophy and the feelings. And what I've been doing lately in giving class, and it's very interesting, that there are actually three ways. There are three ways in which you can approach the Bhagavatam. One is the stories, one is the philosophy, and one is the emotions. So I was teaching the Bhagavatam stories through the emotions. So maybe I'll touch that a little bit. And the other thing is tattva, kind of the philosophy. So I thought, well, how will I introduce that? So I thought, well, let me think of the most powerful things I've read in the last, things that really stuck out of the page, and I kept notes on them, and let me share them. If someone asks me what the favorite part of my day is every day since almost a year, every day, it varies with me, but I study the Brihad Bhagavatamrita with Srila Niranjan Swami. And just we go back and forth, and it really kind of blows our minds, kind of the genius of Sanatana Goswami. So I wanted to share kind of some of those things too. But I was on the phone with someone from Vrindavan, and they heard something, and it just seems real interesting. So I'll share it with you. I could do a Radhanath Swami. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
It's so interesting. It was someone who was talking about poetics. And they said if there's good poetry or good drama, it should create within you a sense of wow. Even if it's mundane, it should create within you a sense of wow. And then he said something that kind of resolved the quandary I had. The quandary I had is, how can people be happy eternally in Brahman? I mean, okay, we say no, but there's something there, eternally. So he said that sense of wow is an experience of Brahman. And being in Brahman is experiencing that eternally. Like, wow. Anyway, it may even be, I may even said upper Siddhanta. But I thought it was interesting. Isn't it interesting? What is that feeling? And of course, that's derided in our conception as nothing compared to bhakti. Nothing. Rupa Goswami says, if you take the pleasure of Brahman, which is 1,000 times more, it says, than material pleasure, and you multiply it by an infinity, it won't even equal a drop of the pleasure of the ocean of devotional service. And why not? Why not? Because devotion is God's pleasure, and you share in God's pleasure equally, because it's love. And love is enjoyed equally from both sides, whatever the flavor. There's a mother and there's a child, and they enjoy motherly love. And it's kind of the same energy from different perspectives. Except in our philosophy, which is so amazing, that the devotee enjoys that pleasure more than God. And therefore God has to become his own devotee, actually to be God. Because God has to be the supreme enjoyer. So he has to become his own devotee to enjoy that type of love. So let me read some of the things that I picked out that was kind of wow. Maybe. This should just be the time where like jet lag hits. So the mind is not as clear. This is one thing that really struck me. This is it's from Sanatana Goswami's commentary. And he describes that God becomes subordinate. The greatness of God is seen most fully when he becomes subordinate to his servants. This aspect of his personality attracts the attention of his pure Vaishnavas, even when it seems to contradict his features of the absolute, because he becomes subordinate. So it seems it contradicts that he's absolute. Anyway, there's a whole commentary, and then it says, in this state, the title of Bhagavan is best understood to mean the most loving. So you can only be most loving from a subordinate position. Because if your position is just higher and majestic, then you can't be a friend. You can't be a lover. You can't be a child. So to be most loving, you have to be in a subordinate position. So this term Bhagavan, I love it. It says it's understood to mean the most loving. And I wrote about this recently because sometimes when you read Shastra, you see things that you see. You're not putting this online, are you? Okay.
You don't want me to?
No, I don't like things online. I don't like paparazzi. Okay. I wrote about this, why Prabhupada translated Bhagavan as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just the Supreme Lord. Because the supremacy of a person is his love. The supremacy of a person is that they're a friend. The supremacy of a person is they're a lover. The supremacy of a person is they're a child. So we are our love. And I made up two terms that that position covers personality. So this is good. Bhagavan means the most loving. And to be the most loving, you can't be in a position majestic because you can't have intimate relationships. So therefore Prabhupada translates Bhagavan not as the Supreme Lord, but as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, that's not bad for my jet lag. Right. This one is really interesting too. One who understands, one can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass, provided one sees within it the presence of the Supreme Lord. One who understands that in a blade of grass the Super Soul is present along with the Jiva Soul, and who honors the grass by watering it and bowing down, is in fact performing devotional service to the Lord. I love reading things that I say, wait, I never heard that before. So, and I thought it really is a profound statement. And the profound statement is, or the profound aspect of that is that how important faith is. Because, boy, I really see I'm spinning around. You know, you can tell, like, I'll describe something. I'm in Vrindavan, I'm in Govardhan, and this guy shows up at my door. Now, the reason why you're in a holy place is not because you can see Vrindavan. You're there because there are people that are. That's why we're in a holy place. So I'm at my door, and someone knocks, and I go, and the person says, "Hi, I'm such and such's disciple," who I know, a godbrother. And then I thought, like, okay, that's nice, but I can't meet you like right now. You're just coming. And then I recognized this guy, and I recognized him, and I said, "Oh wow, Hare Krishna Das, I haven't seen you in 35 years." And then he said, "I'm so glad to see you, and I was worried about seeing you, because sometimes after 35 years you come back and then there's an old man and you still look good." And then I remember him, and I remember his guru. It's so interesting. ISKCON, he's got an unusual instruction from his guru. It may not seem it kind of ironic that it's unusual. His guru said, "Your only service is to chant Hare Krishna." And he took it. And I remember how he would chant Hare Krishna. He was a musician. And I what's that thing that goes back and forth?
Metronome.
What?
Metronome.
Metronome. So he explained to me way back that he was able to chant simultaneously at different levels. So he would chant one level, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And at the other level he would chant with the same beat, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, and completely absorbed. And then I thought about, is that possible? And yeah, it is possible. Because when you give class, if anyone's giving class and they're kind of connected, then what happens is you are speaking and your mind at the same time is organizing the class. Anyone who's lecturing knows that. You're giving the class and at the same time your mind is also giving it. And I'm saying this as an excuse because the other part is not working. So, but this point about a blade of grass, and you could, that how much in bhakti, what is the taste of bhakti and what is the taste of the holy name? Because this person is chanting the holy name, and I give class 2-3 times, and he comes, and he's very humble, and he explains to me the level of his taste in a very, very humble way. That it's just completely, and the amount that he can chant. And then telling me, he chants every night from 9 to 12, and then telling me, I'm so disappointed when it gets to 10:30. I said, I wish I was still beginning.
Wow.
And then we talked about death. He said, I can't wait. And it was actually like realization. And so why does one person, and this is the point here too, one person gets so much pleasure and they're chanting the same name? Because what is the pleasure of devotion, and what's the pleasure of any relationship? The pleasure is the person whom you have a relationship revealing themselves to you. And it's Krishna. And when you have faith and are attentive, then there's reciprocation. That's why bhakti is considered the abhideya tattva. Bhakti is how we realize God, because God's a person, and you can only realize a person by the mercy of that person revealing themselves to you. That's why bhakti is said it's considered at the platform of Bhava Sudulabha, very difficult, because it can control Krishna. When you give your heart to someone, they can do one or two things better than anybody else. They can serve you or exploit you. So the taste in Krishna consciousness in any activity is the reciprocation of God. And therefore, when someone has that kind of faith, it's so, God gives himself. That's why there's that story of Mukunda, and he was banned from the association of Lord Chaitanya. And then finally, he was begging, and I don't know, he was reading unauthorized literature. So that's been a crime for many, many years. So he was banned. And Lord Chaitanya was like setting the example and wouldn't see him. And then finally, when can I see him? And he said, I'll see him in millions and millions of births. I won't see him for millions and millions of births. So Lord Chaitanya, so he became so ecstatic. He said, I will. And then Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with him. Why? Because of his faith. And what is that faith? It's so good. Faith is, it's so good. That's what faith is. It's so good, right? Adao Shraddha, it's so good, I appreciate it. Adao Shraddha Tata, it's so good that I'll be with those people. It's so good, I'll practice those things together. It's so good, I'll give up all those things that have no value to it. It's so good, I'll do it all the time. Then from Nishta comes Ruchi. Because just like water is tasty. Why is Rasaham Apsa Kontea? Why is water tasty? Water is tasty when it's just water. When I went up to the Himalayas, and you're getting it before it goes down the plains, and it's mixed with salt, and it's water. It's just water. It's so tasty. So bhakti is tasty when it's just bhakti. So from nishta, when you're really fixed, ruchi comes. So that faith, and Lord Chaitanya then was so pleased with him. So, and same thing with the deities. Same thing with anything. The deities, if you realize it's non-different than Krishna, then you see people before the deities, right? And they're before the deities. They're experiencing something because there's reciprocation. So I love this. I'll read it again. One can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass. Glasses. Perfection by even a blade of grass, provided one sees within it the presence of the Supreme Lord. So when there's faith, then God reveals himself. That's the whole process of bhakti. It's powerful. It's just like if there's the sun, it's so powerful. But if you have an umbrella over your head, you can block it. So you don't feel it. So it's the same thing with false ego, the sense of superiority. It covers you. You don't feel it. That's why Jiva Goswami says that Sankirtan is better than Kirtan. He said it gives special feelings of bliss. And one of the reasons it gives special feelings of bliss is because when there is community, and you are great, you don't need a plug, everybody knows now, but I was watching the Mayapuris, and they were discussing Kirtan. And the main thing they were emphasizing is their community, the no ego. Pradyumna Prabhu told me once, when I lived in the Bhakti Center, this is a jewel. And he would come in my room and he would say things that I remember for the rest of my life. So he came in and he started talking about Kirtan. And he said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Trinadapi, what Trinadapi means, humble than a blade of grass, because when you have a lawn, no blade of grass says, look at me. So he says in real kirtan, no kirtan leader or drummer or anything, and look at me. And I think, ISKCON's a big society, everything has its strengths and weaknesses, but the strength of ISKCON is Prem Kirtan. And especially these young people that grew up, been to Vrindavan, Indra, you were there for years, a lot of people, they have that sense, right? And what happens when you have that sense? When you have community, then community creates this feeling that common interest is better than self-interest. You're in this group, right? I don't have to show off. I don't have to exert myself, right? The effect itself will be better than me, doing something special or showing off or protecting myself. So when you have community, it removes the false ego. And then you can feel that the power of the holy name, because that's what covers it. This small thing, this sense of superiority, shields us from these rays of bhakti. And one of the idea between drama and poetics, the whole idea of this Nataka Shastra. There was a Shastra. The whole history of the Nataka Shastra was, at least the story was is Indra, who was the king of heaven, and he was trying to get people to become free from false ego. The whole Shastra is unified in this one point, to get rid of this limited concept of I, that I'm the center, and therefore I should enjoy, I should control. That's all. There's this verse, Yasya Deve Para Bhaktir Tata Deve Tata. One who has implicit faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord, the imports of the Vedas are revealed. And I heard this scholar in Vrindavan give a very interesting import in that. He said, what is the import of the Vedas? The import of the Vedas is you got to get rid of false ego. Impersonal, personal, Everything is geared for that. You've got to give up on whether it's karma, yoga, karma kanda. It's all kind of trying to get you out of that limited concept of I, the false ego, the false conception. So it says, implicit faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord, because to recognize something, you have to have a preliminary experience of it. Just like if you have a young girl, 5 years old, and you show them a romance movie, they can't recognize it because they have no experience of it. So to get the experience, to actually see that, you have to have a preliminary experience of getting rid of the false ego by surrendering to the truth through the Vaishnavas, through the Shastras. One who has implicit faith in the Supreme Lord and the spiritual, the imports is revealed because you could see it. So that's what the Veda is about. So Indra is saying, I'm giving philosophy to everyone, but they're not getting it. They're not getting it. So Lord Brahma thinks a little bit about this and he says, okay, we need to give something audible and visible. And then he gives him the Nataka Shastra, which somehow is channeled by this Bharat Muni. And it has this whole aesthetic theory that when you have the proper presentation of drama, and what drama is it takes a consuming emotion in the world. That's called rasa. There's tragedy, there's romance, there's chivalry. And then the science of recreating it so the audience feels that same emotion. And then they have all these, and this was considered very spiritual, this aesthetic theory. And why was it considered very spiritual? For this reason, because if you do that, you create a unity in the audience. They experience something as if one mind. And that's a very uplifting feeling. Anybody who's a musician or anybody who speaks, if he feels that there's okay, Ram? Not now. Okay. If he feels that there's many minds, the feeling doesn't come up. Just like Lord Chaitanya, he's doing kirtan in Srivasangam. And when he's doing kirtan in Srivasangam, all of a sudden he's not feeling it. And he said, there's someone here that's not in our mood. And they say, no, no, everybody's here. No, there's someone here. Oh, there's one brahmachari. And he's so advanced that he only drinks milk. Lord Chaitanya said, well, if that's the qualification, then every baby would be a Mahabharata. Not the qualification. And then they find out that he's a bit, he's an impersonalist or he's in the wrong mood. It doesn't. So the whole aesthetic theory was, how do you recreate these emotions so people feel the same emotions and the audience feels it as if one mind? And the principle of feeling rasa is that the audience is qualified and the presentation is qualified and it's one mind. And we experience, that's Sankirtan. It has many things. Once you feel the holy name, when the false ego is limited, and it's this kind of, what's it called in Greek? Catharsis. You transcend this limited concept that tortures us. So and then of course some of the aesthetic theories. This is where I'm going today. Some of the aesthetic theories were, of course, impersonal. You transcend the limited concept of I. means you transcend your identity, but that's not what the Vaishnavas feel. You transcend the limited concept that I am the center, you're unified with God. And here's just a very interesting thing that happens in our tradition, is that after the Nata Shastra, Rupa Goswami starts looking at the Bhagavatam and then discovers that the Bhagavatam is perfectly composed according to the rules of Nataka Shastra. So how is that possible if the Bhagavatam predates the Nataka Shastra? So I guess what Rupa Goswami discovered is that it's the ultimate reality is rasa, except it's bhakti. And the Bhagavatam represents that. The Bhagavatam takes and this is not in classical drama. They don't have the bhakti as the consuming rasa, and it communicates bhakti. And it's very scientific. If you read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how these dramas are composed. So Rupa Goswami, therefore, he wrote the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where he took the Nataka Shastra and applied it to bhakti with the same basic kind of principles. So now I'll just briefly, because you feel the it's kind of something does to your mind. I don't know what it is. I'm not as lucid I like, but I think this will be interesting. So what I thought would be really, really interesting is presenting Krishna Leela, not just through the stories, not just through the philosophy, but through the emotions. So I'm going to explain it very, very briefly. And I'll show you what I'm trying to do. I'm not sure I'll be able to do it all today. So the first concept is God is the supreme enjoyer, and what is he enjoying? He's enjoying love. It makes sense. If you're going to be the supreme controller, what's the use of being the supreme controller to organize everything for your depression? You enjoy. Prabhupada said he enjoy. And what is the enjoyment? Love. I wrote something about this once. Everyone here is seeking happiness. Happiness is love. If that's the guiding principle here, why shouldn't it be in the ultimate reality? And that's Radha Krishna. And what is Krishna? He is Rasika Shekhar. He enjoys love. The Tattatiya Upanishad says Rasa Vai Saha. This is what's happening. The ultimate reality is this pleasure of love, the exchange between God and and the expansions and what is our ultimate role in reality. We're supposed to be receptacles of love. I made this statement that everything's within God, but within God there has to be something outside of God for love, because God has two pleasures. Sarupananda, you enjoy by yourself. You're swinging on a hammock. You're in a jacuzzi. You're going to sleep, and you're exhausted. And then there's Bhakti-Anand, this pleasure that comes from love. So God enjoys love, but he's the connoisseur of love. He enjoys love when it's perfect, when it's at its height. And Jiva Goswami makes a beautiful analogy about this. He says, for love to be at its height, what the Nataka Shastra says and what the Bhagavatam shows, for love to be at its height, there must be 5 emotions that bring it to its height. And he said, it's just like a connoisseur of food. When you serve them sweet rice, he gives this analogy. The rice can't be too cooked. It can't be too undercooked. The milk can't be too thick. The milk can't be too thin. Vishnu, you know these things. The sugar can't be too little or too much, right? And then you add the cardamom and the saffron, right? It can't be like dark yellow. It's, they know. And when that's there, then someone who has an appreciation of fine things, it's good to be a connoisseur. Because fine things, Prabhupada said, elevate the consciousness. When you have the proper things done properly, it elevates consciousness. So it's good to have people who have taste, just like music, right? You know, Havi Prabhu, right? We had I was in Mayapur and I was doing a program and he was going to come and do kirtan. He didn't just come and do kirtan. He came first to check the sound system. Then he made sure who was the Madanga player. So people like this. It's good. They have so in the same way, there's 5 complementary emotions that bring love to its height. So it says first there must be a flavor of love. But flavor of love is not rasa. Just like some mothers are here, they have motherly love. But it's not at its height. It's in their heart, but it's not in their height. There must be other things that bring it to its height. So, so there's that emotion, and each has a different flavor of love. Right? Like a mother's love is called anugraha, mercy. I am the maintainer. Without me, the child dies. But servitude has a different flavor. You are my maintainer. Without you, I die. And then conjugal, they all have different flavors, but it's not yet rasa. So the basic thing that starts bringing the love to its height is called vibhav. It's the basic cause, and it has 2 parts. There must be the proper people that share those emotions. Like in parental love, there must be a baby and a mother. In conjugal love, there must be a handsome young man and a beautiful young lady. It's rasa bas in a romance if there's an old lady. I didn't say this. This is part of the Shastra. And so then there must be a stimulus for it. Krishna's flute, the qualities of Krishna. That's the basic cause, but it's still not at its height. What else does it need? It needs anubhav, the proper actions in love. And each relationship has different actions, right? Like, for example, like if you're a servant and Prabhupada walks in the room and you pay your obeisances, it's not just a physical act, it's also an emotional act, right? But imagine you're standing here and Prabhupada walks in the room and says, Dear Gail, please accept my humble obeisances. And then Gail goes like this. Really nice. Right? It's not the proper actions for love. Each relationship has actions for love. And then there must be what's called vyabhachari bhav, all kinds of transitory emotions, like the child. I always give the example of my mother developing love for her son that comes to the level of rasa. I once say I went to visit Satyaraj, and I'm coming home late at night. So I call my mother because it's like 8 o'clock at night. I don't want to knock on the door. I said, Mom, I'll be home in 15 minutes. She said, oh my God, I thought you were dead. I said, why? What happened? She said, when I saw your clothes were still there, but I didn't see the car. I searched every room for a dead body. I said, Mom, with the evidence at hand, was there any possible conclusion? But fear, anxiety, jubilation, all these. There's even one Vyabhachari near death. That in separation from Krishna, the gopis want to die, but they don't die out of love for him. So, and then there's something called Sattvika Bhav. There must be reactions to the body that don't go through the intelligence. Like Anubhav, there's that, let me dance, let me hug, but tears coming. We see with Lord Chaitanya, the tears come out of the eyes. And so for each relationship, when all these are proper, it becomes rasa, and God can enjoy it, and it will invoke the right feeling in you. Look at Lord Chaitanya. There was no literature written for Lord Chaitanya, because what he was experiencing, anarpita charim charat, it wasn't, for many millions of years, this wasn't here. So people were writing literature. What was Sri Dhanurdhara doing? He was checking it. Because if it wasn't properly composed, it would be Havi in music or Tamal Krishna Raj in food. If one of the elements was not proper, and it's not bad that someone's like that. We need people who have standards in society. Prabhupada, he gives this thing about Dwarka, how the architecture was so beautiful, and how the cities, don't have this. And it said it creates the finer sentiments in the consciousness. It elevates it. So all these elements, and if one is not proper, it's called rasabhas. It doesn't come up. And if someone is Lord Chaitanya, he needs that literature. It's part of the bhakti process. You need that literature to communicate those emotions, so that when you chant the holy name, you have this real deep sense in your heart. Therefore, the only criticism of the kirtan festivals, it doesn't follow the traditional thing. Pradyumna was saying this. He said he's been in the Gaudiya Math, the thing. There has to be a mixture of katha and kirtan. Because there has to be something that added to the name that really creates the feeling very deeply. Do you ever know my godbrother Ram Shraddha? He's expert in everything. He's expert cook, expert philosophy, expert kirtan. He's from a South Indian Brahmin family. He preached in the West. So in Mayapur, he used to come to my class and he used to sit. So he's here, Ram Shraddha. Why don't you lead kirtan? So he said, okay, I will lead kirtan, but we have to do it the traditional way. We have to chant some bhajan to give the mood. And then he started chanting. What is that? Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. And he told the story of Mother Yasoda going out in the... And look at Lord Chaitanya dancing in the Rath Yatra. He didn't have, nothing was written to give him that mood of the pastime. So what was Lord Chaitanya doing? I wouldn't like to say it was like a Karmi novel, because it was like classical Sanskrit novel, but it wasn't Krishna conscious. But he was still, Lord Chaitanya was using it to invoke the emotions so that he would create some bandha with the name. The real bhakti comes from the absorption in the name with feeling and the reciprocation of Krishna revealing his heart. That's what Shuddhanam is. What is Shuddhanam? Shuddhanam is when the kirtan leader is very pure, his chanting, like Ayendra Prabhu and different kirtan, Niranjan Swami, different people, they can chant in such a way that Krishna, it's not just a stranger Krishna. Krishna's revealing themselves to that person. And that name, with that revelation of that of Krishna to that person, the audience shares it. And therefore they get a very, very deep feeling. So Lord Chaitanya, he himself, and therefore, wow, if you can do service for Lord Chaitanya, so people were writing these different dramas, and they would go to Sarup Damodar, and he would say, no, he's Rasika, this is, you wrote a drama about friendship. There's one example. There was like friendship, or someone wrote a drama about friendship, or something with Krishna, and something, and then it was a king, and then his friend came, right? And it was friendship, and the friend came, and it was the king, and he said, "Please accept my humble obeisances." Well. That doesn't bring out friendship. Friendship, it should have been equality. Or the other example was the lady was too old, so the romance got ruined. Sorry, I didn't say that. It's like, listen. So let me just explain just briefly how I was doing this with the Kali Lila and taking each person and showing. So let's say, okay, let's take motherly love. So now, naturally, Mother Yasoda has that feeling, right? But it's not rasa yet. It's not to the point of Krishna's relish, because it's only one of the thing. Okay, but what is there? Okay, there's her son and Mother Yasoda, the mother and the child. This holds the emotions. And then she's cooking and singing of Krishna's qualities. Krishna's qualities are part of the basic cause. They light it. And then what happens? She sees meteors in the sky, inauspicious things. You know what example I use for this? To show how just saying it? I did a program in your house in September 20th or something of 2001 in your house. And I was giving an example of this. And I said to your father, I said, Mahesh, right? Just like, what a stupid thing I said to, I said, Mahesh Pandit, I remember your house too big. I said, just like if it was the World Trade Towers and your daughter was on the top floor. He almost had a heart attack. Just hearing that, right? Right. Just see what happened to his fatherly love for your beautiful sister, right? And just hearing that, right? So Mother Yasoda is seeing the meteors in the sky. Her right eye is shaking the ground. So you can see and then she rushes to the shore of the ocean, and then what happens? She faints, right? That would be Satvik Abhav. So all these any of them, or then seeing the performance of Krishna dancing on the Kaliya serpent. You know who the best Mridanga player was? It says in Shastra. Indra. Indra's a great Mridanga player. He brings the Mridanga, and then it describes that the planet of the heavenly musicians, the Vidyadharas, they come, and the planet of the heavenly singers, the Gandharvas, they come. These are like the best musicians, the best singers. The only people who just wouldn't perform, they couldn't get him to perform, the planet of the great dancers, the Apsaras, they wouldn't dance. They saw Krishna dancing, I can't. And what Krishna's dancing was on the hoods, and the music, imagine watching that, the emotions, or what to speak when Krishna finally breaks through. And why did Krishna break through? This whole pastime took about 5 or 6 hours, but there was 48 minutes only seeing the peacock feather. And imagine that on the shore, what happened? The cowherd, what Mother Yasoda comes out, and on the shore, what does she see? She sees the cowherd boys lying on the ground, fainted. She sees the cows crying, but they can't speak, because this is also a Sattvika Bhav. They're stunned. And what does she feel? And all the emotions. And then her friends try to pacify her. And they start singing songs of Krishna killing the demons. So all these, so Krishna's in the coils of the serpent for so long. And why does he, after 48 minutes? It's a psychology. The women were crying and the kids were crying. Men cannot tolerate women and children crying. So Krishna said, okay, I'll get out. And then he busts through, he's dancing, the cowherd boys get up. So all these, if you look at it through the emotions, it's all bringing, and then our philosophy is that when we read these things, because it's Rasa Shastra, and we have the right attitude, and when we read these things, then the feelings come to us. And I give one example of that that's so stark, is, previously there was no divorce. Now, not such a big thing. But previously no divorce. So my grandfather's famous story, the first date with my grandmother was 15, is he was buying some lots, property. So he took her to see the lots. This was very famous in my family. Took her to see them. He was buying something. And when she's 15 or 16 or something, they get married. I think by my time my grandmother was like 23, she already had 3 kids. Then my grandfather becomes tired of her. That happens. So no romance. So my grandmother suffered. That's the way it is, but nothing to. So then it was like their 50th anniversary, and my mother thinks, I know what we can do. We can take him to a Broadway show. We'll take him to Fiddler on the Roof. And what Fiddler on the Roof is, it's about exactly their culture in Russia of romance, matchmakers. Right? And it was the same kind of thing. Do you love me? It's one of the statements. Do you love me? Well, I washed your clothes for 25 years. But do you love me? So it's this kind of thing. And then, matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a match. Okay, So that was there too. So my grandfather was here, my grandmother was here, my mother was here, my father was here. In the midst of all this, my grandfather affectionately grabs my grandmother's hand. And my grandmother is so excited. After so many years of romance again, that she turns to my mother and says, but that's schmaltz. But ours is bhakti. And these stories. I'll just read one more thing that was so enlivening. That it said, this is to Gop Kumar. This story is amazing. And finally, I think it's the Vaikuntha Vasis. Gop Kumar is like really kind of, he wants so much. He has this quality. He wants perfection so much. And he doesn't think he's qualified. And he doesn't think he can make it. But he's hearing about Vaikuntha. He's not only hearing about Vaikuntha, but he's seeing the 4 Kumaras. And oh my God, these 4 Kumaras, they're just so, I just want to be with them. I want to serve them. and he faints, he's so much in anxiety, and Lord Shiva and Ganesh, and they're very compassionate, and they try to cheer him up. And finally they tell him, no, you can make it because you're a devotee. And then they tell him the process. Honor the Bhagavatam and other scriptures that tell of devotional service. Hear from them regularly about the Lord's pastimes, for when these narrations enter the holes of your ears and you relish them with love, they will quickly award you the Lord's abode. So that's our philosophy. The Bhagavatam, the stories of Krishna. Okay, any reflections on the class? And then we'll have a little kirtan and then we'll take prasadam. Any points that stuck? Notice, Gail, I'm not asking for questions. What?
No, not a question.
No, you can ask questions. I'm joking. Okay, yeah.
No, I mean, at first when you said that,
Now,
at first when you were saying that you have to have the subordinate position to experience the highest love. At first, I didn't really see that.
You need what?
I didn't really see that.
See what?
That you have to have a subordinate position. But then when you said that, I think you clarified it and said that you cannot be in a majestic position because then you can't have intimacy. That's what clarified that.
Right. Krishna is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu right at the beginning, Akila Rasamrita Murti, the full embodiment of love. So he comes as a cowherd boy, so he can, it's counterintuitive. That's actually because it allows him to be the supreme person, because he can be a friend, he can be a lover. While he comes as Narayan, he can't be a friend. That's part of a person.
Yeah.
He can't be a lover. That's part of it. So it's restricted. Position covers personality. The other statement I said, Krishna is God with his guard down. God with his guard down. That's when your full manifestation comes out. And I said, therefore, this is the first time we see Krishna in both the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam is on the chariot as the chariot driver of Arjuna, indicating that he's the friend, he's the servant. This will be the full manifestation of God. Okay, so yeah.
I have a question regarding the emotions of the Brajbasis.
Yeah.
In our life, what does like spiritual emotion look like? Because it could be sentimentalism as well. So how does one see if this is a genuine emotion?
Well, the test of genuine emotion is not the emotions itself, because they can be imitated. So I think Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur said, the test, will be every moment is engaged in Krishna's service. You're tolerant, you're self-controlled, you're detached, you're attached to the holy name. He gives 9 qualities that indicate that. But, there are legitimate emotions. And I guess what we're supposed to do is read the Bhagavatam and the scriptures and be moved by them somehow. Enough to say that I want them, and develop some type of that. That's why I like Vrindavan. There are people that you actually see, wow, these people really have. And you know what I see too? That the people I see that really, really have it, like Ayendra, they're so surrendered to Guru and they're so surrendered to Kirtan. And the qualities of Gop Kumar, because he's the example of how to go there, the two qualities he has is Nam Nishta and Guru Nishta. He's attached to the mantra that his guru gave him. And I see this person, I was telling, I hope I don't embarrass him, but he really is like, he tells me his sadhana. I mean, it's natural. He comes in, I'm a pensioner, right? I'm a pensioner now. My daughter's married. My wife is taken care of. I'm coming here now. Really fixed on his guru. His guru gave him that instruction. I see another person. I just got a book that this person wrote, doing kirtan all over Europe, constantly doing kirtan, surrendered. But something comes. So it's usually there's some foundation of Sharanagati. Otherwise, bhakti doesn't enter. So you see that with them. Generally not. Anyway, they're or like, Sabyasachi. You know him? He's serving Niranjan Swami.
Oh yes, yeah.
But he stays with me. He lectures on the holy name. He's very advanced. But I see, his guru was sick and he went there. It was like, what they're like is not a particular activity. What they do is they like to serve Krishna. It can be imitated. That's all. Naturally. Ego, right? You can appropriate anything. So it becomes mixed, but at least it's very interesting. Bhakti has so many components, right? And sometimes they seem almost contradictory or something. Yeah.
Can I ask a metronome question?
Yeah. You have to see this guy do it. When he goes he goes, Hare Krishna. I don't know why he moves his hand to go, Hare Krishna. But I don't know music, so I can't explain it. But it's in the same thing. It's just one is...
Yeah, he's doing it to the beat. So what's the two things he's doing at once?
He's chanting very fast according to that.
To beat, that beat, yeah.
And he's doing it very slow according to the beats. Because you can chant the whole mantra in that time, or you can chant half the mantra in that time. I don't know music.
You can elongate it.
So it's elongated.
Right.
Hare Krishna. But it's the same. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So it goes on at the same time. It's amazing. But the fruit is that he's just completely absorbed.
But he could simultaneously do it slowly and
I said, how is that possible? And then he said, well, he's a jazz musician. So he said musicians can carry different things in their head at the same time. That's all. And then I tried something, which is also, because I'm not a musician, I envisioned the name, right? I envision actually physically the name, right? And chanting at the same time. And I saw what helps is just that mind is going to go to so many places. So getting something else in the mind at the same time. One time, it's very interesting, there's a famous sadhu in Vrindavan, Vinod Baba. He's very advanced. He chants every day from 5 to 2, like religiously. So one time I knew someone and they took me he said, you want to meet him? And I was in Barsana. I said, okay, I'll meet him. So he knew him and he went in there and he was doing his bhajan. So they invited me in. So very nice. And he's sitting there in his room. It's towards the end. So I thought, my God, I got to ask him a question. So I said, well, can you chant and think of Krishna's pastimes at the same time? So sadhus that really, it's a two-part answer. The first he said, First he said, no, you better be careful because it'll be inattentive chanting. I wasn't expecting that answer. And then he chanted for a while, and then he said, you can try a little. So it was such like a balanced answer. The test is what helps you to remember Krishna more deeply, if the name becomes more prominent. And the thing is, in classic meditation, you never start at samadhi. Never. It's dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So it's really hard to start with just absorption in the name. So sometimes something to fix your mind on something carefully is a picture of Krishna, a vision of the holy name. It's oh yeah. So then he said, take some prasadam, and then I'm taking prasadam. I'm watching Jaiva Dharma, these sadhus like falling over each other to serve each other. I said, God, it's like legitimate. They really are like serving each other with such sweetness and great prasadam. So then I finish, and I walk and I go wash my feet, and then I come back, and I see him like running out of his room. And he has a plastic bag, a white Pashima chadar, Pashima. And he takes it out and he opens it up and he throws it over me and hugs me and like was so honored that I came. Nice Vaishnavas. And I went to the evening kirtan. Wow. All night. Amazing. Okay. Is prasadam offered?
I'm not sure.
Find out.
I think it's coming.
What? Why my ashram in Govardhan, that's the thing. Give people experience. And that becomes their goal. That's why are we practicing so many? We have an experience. And an experience and an understanding that this is God. The experience that there's something special, also the understanding, so many things, getting faith in Shastra. But when you're a little conscious, this is God, this is Krishna, you become more respectful. Right? You become more respectful, and there's a reciprocation. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna